viewers yet.
I will go to the stream. All right. It says that we are live, 5 people watching. I see a frozen image of us. Oh, no. Maybe we got something. No. I don't know what's going on here. Sure we're live?
I see it. It says we're live in the upper right-hand corner.
Oh, there you are. I see you. You're moving. You look good.
Am I glitchy?
No, you're good. I don't see me, but I see you.
You don't see you?
No.
I wonder if there's a delay. Oh, I'm getting skip frames detected 16% over the last 2 minutes. Yeah, I'm getting streaming issues.
Oh, wait. No. I think I'm watching the live stream from before. Live now. Here, let me try again. Oh, there I am.
So I have a red triangle at the bottom.
I mean, I can. It looks okay. Looks and sound good. Says Geeks Vanna.
Oh, well, thanks. That's good to hear. We obviously had some serious issues with our first go-round of the live stream. So let us know, Geeks Vanna, or anybody else watching, if... All right. So maybe we are in business. That's good to hear. Thanks for the patience and joining in with us. We're new at this, right? So we're learning things as we go. Should I get us started?
Tonight we learned that Jack needs a better upload speed.
Yeah, so Halfgram's going to have to foot the bill for that one, maybe. Which is fine. Running much better, no lag at all. All right, so Chris, we were kind of talking about who we were. You told us you were an engineer. You've done some work on gimbals and was it infrared cameras and some cool stuff.
Visual cameras as well. Visual spectrum.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, Chris is actually a super nerd. He's one of the smartest people I know. Engineer by trade, and a pretty darn photographer as well. So, what else do you want to tell us about yourself, Chris?
Well, as you said, I'm a mechanical engineer, so did some camera design back in the day, infrared camera, gimbals. So I know about bearings. I know what's important for gimbals. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Important for cameras, camera testing. See the camera test chart back there, custom made. We used that quite a bit in the past. But at the end of the day, we've kind of found people like to see the pictures from the air when you got a drone, the real life lighting and everything else. And you can do a lot of the same stuff anyway from there. But yes, that's some of my background. Jack, what about you? What are you up to?
Well, I'm an educator, a teacher, high school teacher. I've taught everything from, English as a second language is what I got my start in. Taught some Spanish. Currently teaching business classes. I teach probably the coolest high school class of all time. It's something called Incubator. It's basically Shark Tank, the class. I'm really involved in technology. I've been teaching blended learning styles for a while, which came in handy with remote learning. I also serve as an instructional coach, which means I help teachers with tech and teaching and stuff like that. But I am also a athletic coach. I coach track and field. And I'm also a drone club sponsor. So we have a drone club at our high school, which I'm the sponsor of. So we get together and we fly every other week at least. We actually even compete indoor tiny whoop racing, super fun. And I'm hoping to teach actually a drones, co-teach a drones and robotics class this upcoming year where we'll do some building of drones. We'll also learn some photography and hopefully prep these kids to take the Part 107. So That's what I do when I'm not flying drones.
What are your two favorite drones to fly right now?
My favorite drone right here is this. This is the Mobula 7. I would say this is probably my favorite. I do really like the new Mavic Air when it comes to things that aren't tiny. I got this in the mail today. Actually, I don't think I even told you this. This is the what is it? The UZ65, right? So this is like a Mobula 7 competitor. I got one battery on this thing. I crashed it into a plant, so I got it all dirty, and the UFL connector popped off, so I had to glue that on. So only one battery on that today. So it looks like it's dry, so I'll fly that tomorrow. I was hoping to get some more flights in because I like to fly these tiny whips around the house, but my wife gets mad at me when I fly inside the house, and she works on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so she wasn't here. So I missed kind of my window. But she'll go shopping. She got to pick up groceries this weekend, so I'll get some indoor flights when she's not here.
I can talk to her. I'll straighten her out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like flying obviously the Mavic. So the new Mavic is pretty, as you'd expect from DJI. No major glitches, no major issues with it. Of course, we like to point out all little detailed issues we find with things. I mean, I think that's one thing different with our channel. I don't know how many we got a few people on now, 7 people watching. We're not afraid to kind of say bad things about the drones. I think most people, when we started this too, right? There's nothing we wanted more than to be like the first guy to get a DJI drone, and we could brag about having it early, and we could get the first views and all that. So it's really tempting not to say anything bad about DJI or any other companies, and we say a lot of good things about DJI. We say a lot of good things about other brands as well. But we're never afraid to point out and just be honest with the issues we find. So I think, Jack, you just posted like 10 best, 10 worst for the Mavic Air 2, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not all roses and sunshine, right? I mean, these things they're great. Love them, but at the end of the day, they could always be a little bit better. And one thing, the first negative video that we made was the original Mavic Air 2, and I think we came up with a list of 12 things, and a couple months later, 9 of those things were addressed with firmware with firmware updates. So it's nice that DJI is listening. I know they want to know what's not right about their drone. So if everybody's just kissing their butt, I don't think that helps anybody at the end of the day. And you know what? If someone's I like to make videos to kind of help people make decisions, right? And if you only hear the good, it's hard to make a decision without hearing both sides.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's where we bring some value. We really started out this whole business. So we started out with the website. We weren't really going to do the YouTube stuff, and it just kind of morphed into more and more YouTube. So if you haven't checked out our website, you can check that out. So we started out ton of pictures, ton of writing, and we wanted to be really the different ones out there who actually reviewed. If you look at websites instead of YouTube, you'll find that there's just a ton of fluff out there. People that just it could have been a robot that wrote the articles. So
sometimes
we try that.
They were.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are robots, or some guy in China who's never flown a drone or whatever. So we try to be different in that regard. So anyway, that's kind of where we're coming from, and we do review all kinds of things. Like I said, in the first live stream attempt, we even love playing with the toy drones just because they're fun for beginners. We like to get people into the hobby, and we like to crash them. Right, it's a way more comfortable crashing a $30 drone than a $1,000 drone. So yeah, all types. Jack's the local racer. His skills have improved significantly in the last year. He surpassed me about 2 years ago on the racing drone stuff. And
so hold on. Are you saying that I'm the better pilot?
I mean, if we're gonna get cinematic, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll Maybe I'll step in for that. I don't know.
No, I agree. You're definitely the better photographer, right? You have an eye for that. But when it comes to putting some goggles on, I think I got you there.
You got me there. So, all right, well, probably enough about us.
Oh,
Should
one more thing.
oh,
Somebody
yeah.
did ask, what is half chrome?
All right, I'm going to start with that one. So I'll tell the good story first. So the good story is, so Jack's name, we'll just leave it at that, is Jack Chrome. Maybe that's not his real name. So half Chrome. There's two of us, so it's half Chrome. But here's the real story. So we started off, as I mentioned, website. Website URLs are next to impossible to come by unless you want to like cheat and go with a .io or a .co. For an example, there's a well-known drone website out there with a .co, which apparently is Columbia. Columbia, I think, has done quite well with that suffix. So it's a British guy. Anybody. So we probably should have done like .io, but basically the internet is out of reasonable names. We came up with like a list of 100. And so we were just struggling. So I'm just like reaching for things. And a drone, so we go on the bee theme. What can we do with bees? A bee, drone bee. And being the nerd that I am, I happen to know that a drone is a specific, you got worker bees, you got the queen bee. The drone is a specific bee, and it's super nerdy, has half the chromosome of the queen. So that's just the pathetic kind of source. But it's like, okay, there's a stupid name, but like another criteria is, can we make a logo for it? HC fits in a square, got a long format logo, short logo. We can make something that looks cool, kind of easy, and it sounds kind of nice, and it has some mystery behind it. And we also kind of wanted something that wasn't necessarily drone specific if it didn't have to be, in case we branch out. Sometimes we do gimbals and other stuff. So anyway, that's the somewhat sad story of the name.
Yeah, so we were once the drone guys, but there were also other drone guys out there, and they were all suing each other. So we thought we would switch ships. All right. So topic number one, we kind of touched on it a little bit. The Mavic Air 2. We've done a lot of videos on that recently, Chris. Tell me what your favorite feature on the Mavic Air 2 is, and your least favorite thing about it.
So I pick a feature. It's probably the HDR capability. I'd say, I was thinking about this today, with the exception of the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic Air 2, the video coming out of DJI drones historically has been a little lackluster for me. Either a little grainy or a little lacking in the color choice. I think, Hasselblad, maybe they stepped in, helped DJI. I don't know if they can get credit or not, or if that's just a name, but there's no doubt as I go back and look at the videos I've taken over time, or as I take new videos with the 2 Pro, I mean, they're just really beautiful out of the box. I don't like to mess around with the colors and pulling stuff out later, post-production. Just what you get out of the Mavic 2 Pro is great. What do you get out of the Mavic Air 2? Also very good. I do like the HDR mode. It doesn't have, it's not available in everything. It's not available in quick shots yet. That's something, we'd like to see. We don't use a ton of quick shots, but, the colors and the high dynamic range out of the HDR video mode is a key thing. And it really does seem like that sensor they picked for this, which was originally a cell phone sensor, it does a really good job with that. So that's probably my favorite feature. If we stick with the sensor, the 48 megapixel thing's a bit of a sham, right? So it was already raising people's eyebrows when it came out. Like, it has effective megapixels of 12 and 48. What does that mean? Well, I did a video on that sensor, and 2 videos, one on the HDR, one on the 48 megapixels. And the truth is, those pixels just aren't separated enough for such a tiny camera or sensor, and they're not really separated the way a full 48 megapixel would be, and they're so tiny that you're not getting enough light in. So you take a picture with that in less than ideal lighting, and you get really horrible dynamic range. And then I haven't put this out yet, but I compared it to the 20 megapixel Mavic 2 Pro, and the Mavic 2 Pro has blown it away. So 20 versus 48, I mean, it shouldn't be looking as sharp, and it's way, way sharper. So basically, just stay away from the 48 megapixels. It's a gimmick, but that sensor is good at HDR. So what about you, Jack? What do you think about this drone?
Yeah, so there's a couple of Bob White says, have you guys noticed avoidance system always seeming to be reporting even if the avoidance system is turned off? I do remember that happening early when we were flying over. We were flying over my dad's truck. Remember that shot? And we were getting that. I don't know that it is still doing that.
I think
so maybe
maybe
Bob, check the firmware.
Yeah.
But does it still sense on the screen even when it's off? I don't remember.
Does it slow the drone down, or does it just beep at you? That's another question, because
Yeah.
I think I had some experiences where it's beeping at me. It's kind of like a warning, like that, which is kind of nice, unless it gets really annoying. You're trying to fly as close to stuff, in which case it's extremely annoying. But yeah, it's kind of nice to have that warning there. And at this point, honestly, I haven't flown that close to anything with it off lately, so I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah. I one of the biggest disappointments I think is kind of the obstacle avoidance system. Skydio just is head and shoulders better than any Mavic product. And the Mavic Air 2 has the new Active Track 3.0, but I don't think that it is really. I mean, it's better, right? It's marginally better. It does a really nice job of tracking you when you're moving slowly. But in terms of fast moving objects, it's not great. I think it tends to lag behind, so it does a better job of not losing the object. But of course, it's further back, so there's that. Bob's saying that he's getting the beeps and showing on the screen, which I know we did have that issue. I don't know, Bob, if you've updated your firmware, that may, DJI, like we said earlier, they constantly are updating their stuff, so the products get better. I haven't noticed it, although I guess I haven't flown with it off in a while.
And Bob, you mentioned for screen recording, depending on what phone you're using, there is an option, I believe, unless you want to record sounds, there is an option just to turn off all sounds coming from apps in your screen recordings. I believe on the iPhone, I'm probably an option on some Android phones as well.
Yeah, kind of with you, Chris. I really like the camera and some of the HDR is awesome. That's probably actually my favorite thing. But the smart photo or smart picture, I forget which one it's actually called, is also really nice. The first time I used it at night, it did a really awesome job of taking some night pictures. So, the Mavic Air 2 makes guys like me better at photography, which is cool. So, that I think is, that's what it's all about, right? There are, manual settings and things you can do, and you can throw on ND filters, and you can do some really cool stuff if you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can still get some really cool shots with the Mavic Air 2. It's got some really, really nice features and I think that's really kind of what makes this a good drone for most people. Probably the best drone for most people.
Yeah, if you can afford it, or if you're interested in getting into a side job professionally, or even depending on what kind of professional work you want to do, I mean, it's a great start. I mean, I was thinking today, I was remembering back to like when a Phantom 3 Advanced was like, what was it, like $600 or $700. The Phantom 3 Pro was like $800, right? So DJI's really had some price escalation. Now the cameras on these drones are getting a lot better than those original Phantom 3s, but those Phantom 3s were good enough for real estate photography and stuff like that. So it was a lot easier, 5 years ago for people to get into the business, or if they crash their drone, to replace it. Mm-hmm. So having a drone that's a little more affordable, that's still really good enough for most people. The Mavic Air original couldn't hang. It lacked the power. It lacked the gimbal range. I had times where I thought I had a perfect clip. I go home and look at it, and gimbal twitched on you. You see some props or something, like So it wasn't there. This thing is just a smaller map, right? And when they sent us the drone, so this is the first time DJI sent us something, which is really nice, really cool. They in their literature they're comparing it to the original Mavic, uh, which was really interesting. They're making that comparison, so it's more of a replacement for that
Mm-hmm.
than it is a replacement for the Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom. That kind of makes sense in terms of what its camera can do and everything. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's the go-to drone for most people. And one of the questions I had when I got it was like, why the heck would you buy the Zoom or the Pro at this point? I had to put together a table. If you check out our website, we'll throw a link down there later. We put together some tables, and I almost, maybe this is just the nerd in me, I had to have it all spelled out. Like, what are these drones still doing for me? The Zoom and the Pro. Obviously, the Zoom is the Zoom. The Pro is the 1-inch sensor. I mean, there are some more nuances than that, and there's definitely some arguments for still wanting to buy those, but they have their own limitations as well. So, if I was getting into this, or even if I'm a real estate photographer and I'm pinched for cash, I'm definitely getting this drone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's solid. Maybe we move on to the next topic, and that is Mavic Mini and some competition on the way. I actually got this in the mail the other day, and you probably can't read the sticker. Actually, it's this one. It says 245 grams. So, this is actually the Bugs 7, and they want you to believe that this is a replacement for the Mavic Mini or an alternative to the Mavic Mini. It's not, right? Um, it's fun. It's brushless. It has GPS, follow me, orbit. It does all those things. This is a 4K camera, um, but
Is it really?
it's not on a gimbal, right? You have to move it up and down manually. So, um, no, this isn't a replacement for the Mavic Mini, right? It's 150 bucks. It's a great toy drone, right? I love the bugs. I actually had a lot of fun flying it. I took it out again this morning. I got up before my kids did, and I was out there at like 7:30 at the park flying this thing around, ripping it around, and it's fun, right? And I think this is good for somebody that wants to, have an alternative to spending 400 bucks on their first drone, learn to fly. You don't have to register with the FAA, but you know, it's not. But we also have coming in the mail the Xeno 2 and the Xiaomi Fimi X8 2020, and I think both of those could be competition for the Mavic Mini. The Xiaomi is I think $420 right now. It was $399 at release. The Xeno 2 originally was $399 pre-release. I think from GearBest, who never got them, and then COVID happened, and now it's I think $699. So that's maybe more of a competition for the Mavic Air in terms of price, but and also in terms of performance. So we'll see. Both of those drones are coming our way, and we're gonna put those through the paces, kind of like we've done with.
We got Jet back.
Well, Jet is back, but Jet missed the whole story on Half Chrome.
I
I'll give him the recap. It's um, Chris is a nerd. Bees have half the chromosomes of regular bees. Drone bees have half the chromosomes of queen bees, and we used to be the drone guys, but the drone guys were suing some other drone guys that weren't us. So now we're half chrome because there's nothing else available on the internet.
Yeah, so
Um,
we started off as a website. So
yeah, the YouTube thing just kind of
yeah,
evolved.
yeah.
Yeah, we wrote a ton of articles. Actually, I kind of dislike writing now. I really enjoy creating videos and making content because it's fun. You're flying the drones. You're having, you're testing different features. I don't, you know, if I crash this, I don't feel bad because I almost feel like it's my job to push this thing until it crashes. You see behind me in a lot of the videos, there are a ton of drones back here, and the secret is most of them are broken. Most of the drones behind me are broken because we crash them. I crash a ton. I fly a lot, but I crash even more, I think. So, that's yeah, so we kind of evolved into both a YouTube and a website, and we're just going to keep doing both of those things until until it's time
Yeah.
to do something else, right?
So that's that. That's our story for Jet. Hey, I wanted to go back to the a couple of those drones you were mentioning. So you mentioned a Xiaomi drone and a Bugs, which is a MJX drone. So a lot of the guys on here own, are racing guys, or they maybe own DJI products. So let me just introduce you to these companies real quick. So, an MJX and SEMA and UDI are kind of the three biggest toy makers. If you go on Amazon,
Yeah.
a lot of their stuff is rebranded under other Amazon sellers, and so these companies will put their mark on it. So if you're looking, we get this question all the time, and you probably do too. If you're a drone owner, somebody says, "Oh, my kid needs a drone. Go, what do I buy them?" So that's kind of why we're interested in the space. We like drones for crashing. We like drones for giving to kids and stuff, or friends to get started with. So MJX been around a long time. They've had this Bug series drone. We were amazed when we first got our first one compared to the other toys we've been playing with. It's still on the wall behind me. A little red drone there. That thing was our first. I think that was our first brushless motor
It
drone.
was. It
And
was.
yeah, we've got a bunch of little bugs up there. So they're toys. You can crash them. This one is how much you said, Jack?
The Bug 7,
Yeah.
145
Okay.
on Tom Top. I think it's like $180 coming out of Banggood.
So I can't tell you. A number of people say I got a $200 budget or I got a $100 budget. So maybe that's a good choice there.
Hmm.
But you'll see that thing probably will get rebranded 10 times later.
Yes.
And then
Oh, for sure.
Xiaomi is another interesting company. So I've tested a bunch of Xiaomi products. Actually, just one drone. Was it the Mi 2? Is that what it was?
Yes, the Xiaomi Mi 2. It's
Forgot about
actually
this thing. Here it is. This is their Tello competition. So what Xiaomi is a company, a Chinese company. They're kind of like, if Huawei is the Apple of China, these guys, I don't even know who to compare them to in America, but they're second tier. The way I put it is they're really good at making products that don't suck, but they're never the best. And so, I'm really interested, and that's what you want at the $200 price point. Is something that doesn't suck. So, how much do you say that new Xiaomi is going to cost?
um, I think right now it's
Right.
425. I bet it settles in at 499. I think it was pre-release. I think when we bought it was 399. Same thing with
Okay.
the
Well,
Xeno too, but those
I mean, at that
prices are
price,
changing.
it's got to compete with the Anafi. It's got to compete with the original Mavic Air. So we'll see what it can do. I'm a little skeptical that it can do that, but we'll find out. I mean, they're definitely targeting a little bit more of a primo price there,
Hmm.
400 bucks. So we'll see. We had one question here I wanted to get to. Where the heck was it? Oh, a good reason to buy the Mavic Mini if you have the Mavic Air 2. I mean, if you already have the Mavic Air 2, I mean, not really, unless you really need a pocketable drone and something that, even though it feels super flimsy, you're going to care less about it. I mean, that's one thing, Jack. If we go somewhere and we're like, I don't know about this flight, we'll put the Mini up there way before we're going to put the Mavic 2 Pro up there. So if you want something you're a little more comfortable traveling with, like when I go to Mexico, I'm never like, yeah, let me bring the unique Typhoon. Let me throw that in the carry-on. It's always, what's the smallest, cheapest drone in case just something gets weird out there. But it's not going to handle the wind as well. It's not going to have as many flight modes. That's the biggest, obviously no obstacle avoidance.
Hmm.
But the flight modes is the thing that kind of kills it. And it's artificial stuff they don't put in the software, so you want to buy a more expensive drone. So I wouldn't mess with it unless you really want something that you care less about. And there is something to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree. Winfred asks a question about how do we think the remote ID will play out in the U.S. and we've done a couple of videos on that. We've done some research. Chris made a good point about the whole legalities of some of this, and you can check that video out later. But I think in the end, what will happen is law enforcement will need to know who's flying what. But why does everybody? I just don't see that happening. There will be some system. DJI already has a couple of different options that they've thrown out there, and they're what are they, 90% of the market? I think the consumer market. I think ultimately they will develop a solution that works. And the other thing is the FAA policing anybody for anything right now? Unless you're a complete idiot, there's I just don't see it being as big of an issue as a lot of people do.
Here's the thing: is it very easily. Here's my argument: is there's pretty established law about what you can and can't do about tracking people, and there's no doubt in my mind that this is a way of tracking a person. I think when I read the way that, and it wasn't a law, right? This was a recommendation to make laws or whatever the heck they call it, guidance. To me, it just reads like something like someone was kind of like, F you, you asked for something, here it is. I know it's going to get torn apart. And that's how it reads to me. I think it's just silly. It'll never hold up in court, is what it comes down to. Now, I think it should arguably be easier to find someone who's broken a serious rule, somebody who flies over an airport or way too close or in controlled airspace in a really dangerous way. But like everything else, that should probably require a warrant to go get that kind of data they're talking about, right? So there's an event and the data exists and not in some weird public database. I mean, that's just crazy. The data exists somewhere secure, and I know data security people will say there's no such thing as secure, and that's something that has to get resolved. But I don't know. But I mean, to get to this data, it should require a warrant, and that's my opinion. Mm-hmm. People can't just walk into your house because they think you did something bad, and I think this should be the same way. And I think that's the only way it would ever hold up to the highest level of the courts of this land. So that's my opinion on it. I don't think the way it was written is going anywhere, to be honest with you. And DJI is doing this weird dance, trying to guide the process and making missteps along the way and add technology to try to guide where it goes, which is somewhat commendable, but they make some missteps there too, I think.
Right. And they're not even one of the companies officially kind of invited to be on this panel. So, who knows? No, I don't think it's coming in 2021. 2022, I think, is probably more likely. But, like Chris says, there's some legal issues, and there's some companies. Actually, I'm wearing a Got Prop shirt from Race Day Quads, and they said they're going to sue. And I think they, like Chris said, they have a legal leg to stand on. So
I don't think you need an expensive lawyer to win that case, to be honest with you.
Yes.
You do need a test case to go to court, though. So you need actually someone to get busted by the, I don't know how easy it is to sue a law until it's harmed somebody. So that, you can only, I don't think there's anybody to sue until it becomes law and there's an invasion of privacy caused by it. That's my understanding, but I'm no lawyer. Yeah. Don't listen to me. But I think if they don't have their, if they're smart, they'll make a law that's more likely to stand up in court.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, if you're flying responsibly and you're being smart, the FAA doesn't have they don't want to be the bad guy, right? Their job is to inform, right? They want people to be safe. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Vlon is here. Lon Denard. Lon, I know you saw the shout out in the last video. You give Chris a hard time for being lazy with his remote, and I appreciate that.
I'm just gonna give myself.
Yeah, we've had tutorials. Thank you for posting the manual. I've made him reread it.
There we go. There's one.
Oh, no, that one's a little different than the, you gotta.
I find I get the best performance like this on my Phantom. Anyway,
We appreciate it. Lon gives us great feedback in the comments section of our videos. So we like that. It's good to hear what you guys think of our stuff. We know we talked before about how we like to talk about what is not right about drones. Well, you know what? Feel free to tell us what's not right about our videos. We're cool with that. What's our YouTube channel? Half Chrome Drones. You see halfchrome.com, that's our website, but Half Chrome, you Google that, Half Chrome Drones on YouTube, and you should be able to get us there. So welcome, Cigar Nation Warriors. We got people on here from Scotland and Australia, some people
nice.
from the United States, so that's pretty cool.
Time is there. I guess it's morning in Australia, huh?
It
Okay.
is.
That's awesome. International. I love it. Scotland. I've never been to Scotland. It's like I got a thing for like beaten up castles, and it seems like Scotland's like the world center for that. So I got to get over there. If you've got videos of castles, can you throw a link up there? I just there's something with castles in me. But anyway, should we keep going down the list here, Jack? We had some other stuff to talk
Yeah, we're
about.
going to talk a little bit about waterproof drones. We got one the other day. The Swell Pro Spry Plus, and while we haven't really flown it in water other than like a little kiddie pool, I've flown it a little bit, a handful of times. Chris has flown it a handful of times.
But I told you, Jack, and you said you felt the exact same way when you flew it. It's the scariest experience you've had flying a drone since like the first time you like picked up a racing drone. Um, and had it's kind of you got this like it's like $1,000 or
Yeah,
something, right?
yeah,
$1,000 drone in your hands, and you're not exactly sure if you're in control of it or not. So it's a GPS drone. You kind of expect it to fly like a DJI drone, but it's a little squirrely. When it's in the water, it's definitely squirrely. It's not something you put in your inflatable kids pool. It's probably going to poke a hole in it and go crazy on you. So I'm going to Michigan in a couple days. What's today? Tomorrow's Friday.
yeah.
Tomorrow night. So this weekend, I hope to fly in Lake Michigan, and that's a big enough lake. Hopefully, I don't kill somebody. It's like an ocean. Here's the other thing about it. Here it is. It's in a dry bag. And why is that? It's a waterproof drone. Why am I trying to keep it dry? Well, so I bought on Amazon these desiccants. And the reason is when we got a drop of water on the front dome of this thing. What do you say?
It's a waterproof 3D solo. I think they don't
It might
fly
be.
so well.
It might be.
It's like a racer. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
A little drop of water gets on the dome that protects the camera, and you have instantaneous fogging inside because that water cools down the plastic enough that it starts to fog up. The same thing can happen with the waterproof remote that it has. And that's a problem. I'm afraid I'm going to land it in Lake Michigan, which is probably about like 55, 60 degrees right now. Plastic is going to cool down, and instantaneously all I see is snow. So I certainly won't be flying this far or near people, but I'm trying to desiccate this thing as best I can. I got these packets on Amazon. I got like 6 of them for $10. I realized, they're not changing color, which they're supposed to do, which makes me a little suspicious that these things aren't working. But there's also different kinds of desiccant in terms of the level of dryness where they stabilize. I'm a little concerned these aren't going to be dry enough to do the trick. But let me show you the drone. Here it is. There's definitely some issues with it. But I'm a huge fan of the idea of waterproof drones. I'd love to see DJI do something different. They're now made the same drone in 3 different sizes. Can we do something a little different, at least rainproof? I was talking to Jack about this. I think rainproof would make professionals just feel more comfortable. It kind of opens up your window, right? It's like, oh, there's a storm coming. I don't want to fly anymore. I got to do this mapping mission. I got to do this real estate thing. It's a really cool shot, but what if that storm cloud comes in? You know, our good friend Ken, he lost a Phantom that way, I think, or Mavic 2. You know, where a rainstorm snuck up on him in Florida, and that happens all the time in Florida. So just to make you more comfortable, you know, that makes sense. And then my big thing, I want a floating drone that's waterproof. I just always wanted one. We tried making one. It's right here. So I designed this bad boy. We
3D,
3D
yeah,
printed
3D
it,
modeled, 3D printed.
custom made rubber gasket. The problem with it was the motors. It ended up a little heavy, and the motors and ESCs, the drive circuitry for this thing could not hang, and it crashed and burned. And we never got back to it. Got overwhelmed with other things, but you know, I'm really motivated to resurrect this thing. The plastic's gotten wonky. I think I painted this thing a little too much with ABS cement, and it just cracked and got all messed up. But I really want to resurrect this. I'm a believer in waterproof drones. We just haven't seen anything worth getting yet. And you know, I know there's professional drones, probably many thousands of dollars. You know, that's not really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in something that people can afford. And so was excited to get this, less excited now, but we'll do a review. Hopefully I got this thing dried out enough that it doesn't get all foggy on me, but we'll see.
Yeah, so you can buy a Matrice, right? And that's rainproof. You know, and then there's the Power Egg X, which is probably the closest thing. You know, there's the other Swell Pro drone. You know, so they exist, but they're, you know, the Power Egg X and you know, the Swell Pros, they're just not they're not DJI quality, and that's kind of what we're talking about. You know, something that is interesting, and the Xiaomi the X8 SE 2020 edition does claim to be rainproof.
We'll test it.
We will. You know, we had a JJRC waterproof drone once upon a time. I don't know if it's not
Up
on
here.
my wall. I think it's on Chris's wall. Again, like I said, most of the drones on the wall don't work. There it is. That is one of the drones that doesn't work, but that was supposed to be waterproof, and we flew that thing into the water. We dunked it. We sprayed with a hose. We flew it all around, and it flew until the next day, or the next time we tried to charge it up and fly it again. Now, to be fair, I have actually had one of the Mavic 2s in the rain. I got caught in this. I was
Told
filming,
me that.
I was filming a church, and it was, you know, it started to mist on me, and actually started to come down, and you know, it got rained on a little bit. You know, I brought it, you know, I landed it, dried it off, and it's been fine. You know, that was years ago, so it's not like
I crashed the Mavic Air, the original, into a snow-covered tree, and it was really cold out, so the snow only stuck to the motors, and you know, just the hottest parts, like the camera gimbal, the bottom of the drone where it's warm, and yeah, it recovered fine. But yeah, you can't take it swimming, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to be able to land the drone on a lake, right? And take off. And you know, the Swell Pro, the Spry that we have can do that, and that's cool. And yeah, the Power Egg I think can do that too. It's got those big old skis. So you know, we'll see. You know, to be determined, right? That's a review yet to be made. You know, our first impressions of the drone, not great. But we'll see. Phantom Rain makes a rain suit that seems good. We'll look into that. I just, you know, if you know, you're buying aftermarket things to put on your drone to put it in the water, obviously, you know, something goes wrong, nobody's gonna help you out. So there's that. You know, I've seen plenty of people make skis and floats for their Phantoms and their Mavics, and
you get upside down with that.
Yeah, that just scares the hell out of me. I'm not landing my Phantom on a couple of pool noodles that cost, you know, $4. No, like, right?
Yeah, they are pool noodles, aren't they? Yeah. I agree. It's super sketchy, super dangerous. I mean, if you want to play around and you got money to burn, go for it.
I'm in the middle. Good night. All right.
Oh,
All right. I got a little one saying good night. All right. Love you. Thanks for coming here. You want to say hi?
Ow, ow.
Live on YouTube.
Rosie.
That's like her dream. Kids love this stuff. All right, go to bed.
Ow.
Go to bed. Go. All right. I don't know why she's owing. Crazy. All right. Sorry.
What else we got? Waterproof. Did we cover it?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I repair ID makes kit allows water landings. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I know that I've seen water landing kits, but we want to build. That was one of Chris's dreams to build a waterproof drone. The GoPros are waterproof, so that was the idea, kind of with that big yellow thing you see there, right? He 3D modeled that to carry a GoPro underneath, so that when we, landed underneath in the water, you could just keep filming.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to get to Cigar Nation's question here in a second. So Jack, I think we can resurrect this bad boy. I think we're going to do it. I think it can be done. This top part needs to be re-engineered for a racing drone. And I designed the heck out of this so that it'll be nice and stable with a heavy GoPro under it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I say we put some beefier motors, maybe some 2306s on there. That'll do it. That'll do it.
So, what was that? Cigar Nation says, cautious about Circle. I mean, Circle is in iffy mode. I mean, basically, it's a poor man's point of interest. Point of interest 3.0 or 2.0, whatever they have on the new Mavic. It works very similar. I don't even know why you'd use Circle at this point. It seems as though a point of interest, basically, you set it up and it assigns a GPS location pretty quick for you, and it usually picks a good spot. And that's much more stable than, a vision-based algorithm to try to keep something on center. Unless you're got no obstructions around you and you're wearing something really bright, Circle's kind of a pain.
Although I think Circle can actually, though, track a slow-moving object. Oh, no. Or does it?
I think it would, yeah.
That's the other thing. So here's one of the big beefs I have about all of DJI's active track is Spotlight's different. Every one of their active tracks have, when you go from app to app, they have different names, and
none of them are intuitive, right?
No,
so we've got the Anafi, and I just fire up the Anafi, and it makes sense. Like, oh, it's called Cameraman. What could that mean? Let me try it, and you just know what's happening right away. We never can figure out what the heck these modes are supposed to do. You watch the little preview video, it takes like 10 tries to figure out the pattern, right? And this new one, it has no side obstacle avoidance. So when you put it in it was profile, right, Jack?
No, it's called. Okay, so the other, so in DJI Go 4, it's called Profile, and then in DJI Fly, it's called Parallel. But it won't actually be parallel because there's no side obstacle avoidance, so it actually just follows kind of on the profile. It's stupid.
Yeah, so you get confused. You're like, wait, is it supposed to be following me? Because it's kind of so it's their names don't make sense. They don't work quite right. Never been happy with the active track or the obstacle avoidance. When we were doing our video, actually, it's the closest thing we've had to crashing a Mavic 2. The Mavic 2 Zoom, the prop clipped a pole. That thing has 360 obstacle avoidance, and it started beeping at us after it hit the pole. So
literally you hear a ding.
Ding, and we're like, what was that? And then we land the thing, and the prop's half cracked in half. Super sketchy. But here's an interesting question. Freewell variable ND filters, Jack. We have some Freewell filters coming, don't we?
Yeah, Freewell. I don't know. They're sending us something. I believe it is some ND filters. So yeah, those are coming. When they'll be here, I don't know.
15 dB. Are you saying we're quiet? Oh, that we're different in sound level, maybe. Which one of us is quiet? The ugly guy with the prop shirt or the good-looking guy in the corner? But we'll get back to that.
Let's see if I can.
What was the variable ND? So I didn't know that they had one, to be honest. It sounds pretty cool. So my guess is you got two polarizers, and you rotate one, and it gets darker. Of course, then you're polarizing in two different directions at the same time. If you could tell me how it works, I could probably comment. But I don't know how else you would do a variable ND. Oh, it can't hear Jack. He's the goofy-looking guy with the props.
Really?
Jack, I don't know how you fix that. Maybe I talk quieter.
How about now?
I have the Polar Pro variable ND filters coming. So Polar Pro has them too. So it's been a while since I've looked at the filters in detail. I never tried a variable ND. I did a crazy test video. This video still gets views. Took the Mavic 2 Zoom, Mavic 2 Pro, and filters from, I think, 5 different companies. Polar Pro, Tiffin, a couple random ones, and Freewell. It turned out that Tiffin were the favorites. So Tiffin is probably the biggest name brand in optics out of that group. Polar Pro, more well-known in the drone community. Got on Shark Tank, and it's kind of, that's all you need, really, despite, regardless of the quality of your product. Polar Pro probably would have come in second place, but one of the Mavic 2 Pro filters had an issue with it. Just the machining on the little features to make it snap in and out didn't work. Now they have a warranty, so they would have sent me a new one, but with like 6 other, sets, I didn't really need one. But Tiffin and the color, I got a gray drone with silver camera. I don't really need the Polar Pro gold filters. I don't know if you're into cosmetics. The Tiffin had the black filters, just look nicer. So, I think they're around the same price point, but Tiffin's my go-to. But I'm very curious to try these variable NDs. But
yeah,
he says it's life-changing. 2 to 5 stops, 6 to 9 stops. Dual polarizers, yeah. So he confirmed that. So, the only issue with that is, you're polarizing two in kind of perhaps unknown and arbitrary ways, which can dramatically change how things look. So it's not an ND in that sense. It's an ND with who knows what polarization going on at any given time. So I can understand why a purist might not be into that, but somebody who's interested in quick and easy, I can understand the attraction there as well. But I've never played with one.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's life changing, according to Lon. So I'm up for life changing. I got to try it out.
Banding.
Banding. What about banding? Okay. Well.
Yeah. He asked a question about thermals being a problem. I think that goes back to the waterproof drone and it getting hot. Isn't that what happened? Right. I think maybe our original one, did it overheat and fall out of the sky?
Oh, this thermal drone. This guy here.
Yeah.
No, it never was. It flew for about 30 seconds, was shaking like crazy. Just I think the flight controller, it was a Bugs flight controller.
Oh, yeah,
I don't think it could handle
3.
the inertia and the weight of the thing. And then I think an ESD burned out and just fell out of the sky from about 5 feet into the lawn, and something popped off. So I don't think it had a chance to overheat, but for sure, the way to solve that would be a waterproof air filter that keeps water out, lets air through. You would need a big old fan to be able to accommodate that. But you got a really good point. We put a racing drone in here that burns battery like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
things might get a little toasty there, Jack. This guy does have a pressure relief, but it's a tiny little hole, just so it doesn't explode when it's all sealed up and it gets hot. But that's not going to keep it cool, and that might be an issue for the Spry. The Spry has a really big heat sink on the bottom, but no airflow other than that. No, as long as I leave it parked in Lake Michigan, 50-degree water, it should be fine.
Oh, he's saying the Freewells gave in banding, so he went to the Polar Pros.
Oh, okay.
So.
And that's the filters or the variable ND specifically? I guess probably the variable ND. Yeah, I didn't have any real problems in quality out of all these guys, other than, you guys got to see this video if you want to nerd out on filters. I actually tested the amount of darkening they have and how honest they were about it. Some are, they're never really quite right, but some are spot on, and that's another metric I use to judge. But in terms of like weird flares or reflections, I wasn't really able to induce issues on one company's filters versus the other. It was more about how the quality of the build, how easy they were to get on and off, and other minor performance things, but nothing horrible, nothing like banding or anything. So
cool.
That's what I know about filters.
You know a lot more than most humans should know about filters.
I know that I usually forget to use them too.
And I'm still learning, right? I'm not going to pretend that I am all-knowing about filters, right? I've learned a lot, about cameras and stuff, doing this drone stuff, right? I'm the toy grade guy and the FPV guy, and I've learned to love these Phantoms because they're pretty spectacular. So learning as I go.
And we're gonna get you a camera. I think I'm gonna hand down my camera to Jack, and we're gonna finally buy a camera after like 5 or 6 years. Buy a new camera.
You gotta sell that Phantom though.
Yeah. Anybody want to buy a Phantom? I think we're done with it. We're officially done.
So for advanced, right?
Advanced, yeah. Which is like, people have called us and they just don't want to mess with it. They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's a Pro.
Minus side obstacle avoidance.
Rear and side, yeah, it's missing that. Big whoop. It's probably not going to save you anyway, and it costs like half as much. So make us an offer. We'll sell that too.
Any new prosumer drones coming out this summer? Not this summer. The Mavic 3 has been rumored, but I would be surprised if that came out before Christmas. Anafi may get an update again. I don't see that happening before Christmas. Everything has really kind of been pushed back. We got the Mavic Air 2. You got the Evo 2. Those are kind of the big ones, and those are probably the ones that you're going to want to deal with anyway. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll put our ears down and see what we hear.
What I was saying about filters too, it reminded me. So I had this this phone I tested out once. It was for the 48 megapixel Nokia phone. I don't know if anybody remembers 40 or 41 megapixels. That thing, didn't know what the heck was happening. It had a flip-in ND filter. So if it got really bright, it would flip this ND filter in. And I was like, that's amazing. It's so cool. And it would, I think that was all, and it had a mechanical shutter or something crazy in there. Yeah, it had a mechanical shutter. So, how awesome would that be? You flip down an ND16, you flip down another one, then you have ND32 or whatever. Putting filters on something in the air still proves to be difficult. If you could find some way to build that in, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
What do we say we wrap this up?
Yeah, guys, we got 58 minutes, so we could probably just pull it in under an hour here.
Yeah,
I'm always amazed how long people can talk for, apparently including us.
Yeah, we'll do this again. We'll see if we can't, dial in the settings and make this even better. And I our first go. So, thanks for being patient, and checking in. We'll do this again. Well, check the channel. We'll figure out, or our Facebook page, or even the website. We'll have updates on when the Drone Buzz Live is happening. So
yeah, definitely. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's been entertaining. Not a single hater here, so that's fantastic too.
At least they're not vocal haters, so that's
That's perfect. Yeah, I think that might have been at the Nokia 1020.
Yeah. Well, thanks for checking in.
Yeah, I don't have one. No, not anymore. All right, guys. Thanks for watching again.
All right.
See you next time.
Adios.